The saddest part about a marriage ending isn't the final day in court. The real tragedy is the quiet, invisible moments years before, where one person slowly packs up their heart and leaves, while still sitting right next to you on the couch. My name is Eleanor. I am 62 years old, and for 35 years, I was married to Thomas. To our neighbors in our quiet Ohio suburb, we were the perfect couple. We had the beautiful brick house and 2 grown children. But inside our home, there was a ghost created by my own pride. If you are playing control games in your relationship, thinking you are winning every argument, listen to my story. By the time I realized I was wrong, the damage was already done. Thomas was a gentle man, a high school history teacher, quiet, thoughtful, and deeply devoted. When we first married in our 20s, things were simple. We had no money, but we had endless laughter. We used to sit on the floor of our tiny apartment, eating cheap takeout, and talking about the future until the sun came up. But as the years passed and we became financially secure, something shifted inside me. I began to look at marriage as a system of expectations. I started listening to friends who told me that a woman must always maintain leverage. Keep him working for your approval, they said. Slowly, I turned our home into a courtroom, and I was the judge. Whenever Thomas came home excited, I would ground him with harsh reality. If he wanted to plan a weekend trip, I would complain about the expenses. If he made a small mistake, I would punish him. My favorite weapon was the silent treatment. I would go 4 or 5 days without speaking to him. I would lay his dinner plate down and look right through him as if he were made of glass. Thomas would follow me around, apologizing, trying to hold my hand. Inside, I felt a twisted sense of security. I thought, look how much he loves me. He is chasing me. I disguised my emotional cruelty as self-respect. In reality, I was teaching him how to live without me. The turning point happened on our 30th anniversary. Thomas spent months planning a beautiful dinner at the restaurant where we had our first date. When he presented me with a small box containing a delicate silver bracelet, I looked at it and frowned. It wasn't the gold necklace I had hinted at. Instead of thanking him, I sighed and said, after 30 years, you still don't know my taste, do you? I expected him to apologize. But Thomas didn't do that. He just stared at the bracelet, then looked up at me. His eyes weren't angry. They were completely empty. The warmth that had been there for 3 decades vanished. He quietly called the waiter, paid the bill, and said, let's go home. That night, he didn't argue. He slept on the very edge of the bed. For the first time, I felt a cold chill of panic. Over the next 5 years, Thomas completely stopped fighting. If I gave him the silent treatment, he didn't chase me. He simply occupied his own space, gardening or reading in the attic. If I complained, he would calmly say, you're right, Eleanor, and walk away. I thought he was just getting older. He was still a provider, paid the bills, and attended family dinners. But he was a stranger. He never paid me a compliment or reached for my hand. He was physically present, but emotionally, he had built a fortress around his heart, and I was locked outside. Last year, Thomas passed away quietly from a sudden heart condition. The true heartbreak came 3 weeks after his funeral. I was cleaning out his old wooden desk in the attic when I found a small leather journal. Inside were dozens of letters addressed to me, but none of them had ever been sent. The first letter was dated the night of our 30th anniversary. It read, Dear Eleanor, tonight I realized that I have spent 30 years begging you to love me back. When you rejected the bracelet, I didn't feel angry. I just felt tired. I realized that you don't want a husband, you want a servant who constantly proves his worth. Today, I am stopping the chase. I will stay for the sake of our family, but I am taking my heart back. You can keep your pride. But you can no longer have me. The later journal entries detailed his life over the last 5 years. He wrote about how peaceful his mind felt once he stopped hoping for my approval. He found solace in the quiet because the noise of my criticism had finally stopped hurting him. I sat on that cold attic floor for hours, crying until my chest ached, holding those unsent letters. The tragic irony was that I spent years thinking I was the one in control, holding all the power. But Thomas hadn't been defeated by my games, he had simply outgrown them. He lived the last 5 years of his life right next to me, completely free from me. Desire and love cannot survive in an environment of constant testing and emotional punishment. No matter how much someone loves you, if you treat their heart like a transactional game, they will eventually close the door. If you have someone who is still trying, still arguing, still asking for your time, do not take them for granted. Do not use their love as leverage. Because the silence that follows isn't peace. It is the sound of a heart leaving you forever.